All right, we're back. So let me just give a brief a summary, just as a reminder to our community. When we talk about specific safety and security items, such as camera placement or stuff like that, that's specific to our school buildings, in order to preserve the safety of our children, we do have to go into closed session to discuss those things. Uh, that's why we went off the live stream quickly, because we meandered into that conversation and we didn't want to compromise any safety or security issues for our children. So apologies for that quick abrupt deviation. In the future, we'll do a better job of making sure that we announce it ahead of time and explain exactly what we were doing so that you guys know. All right, so thank you for that update. It was very helpful. Moving along with the agenda, I think now up to
Number 6.
number 6. Yes.
It's going to be quick because I'm sure that we have to discuss this in more detail about the policies. There is a number of policies that we have that govern determination of employment and access to systems and everything. I want to go in detail, but I'm going to invite Christina to do a quick summary of the process, and then we can talk about the other pieces in terms of the internal controls and the privacy, data protection, and all the different items that we put in place to protect our network. Christina, you on? Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Good evening. So just
Hi.
tell us a little bit about how the process goes when there's a termination of employment, there's a resignation, how we work with the retirees, and all that.
Okay, so basically I monitor board docs um, for after the board meetings and any resignations or terminations or retirements that I see listed on there. I just note them or I set reminders up for myself and I ensure that their access to eSchool Plus is suspended as of the date that's listed in the approved agenda item.
The only times that we, in our experience, that we have to not do that, because that's the protocol that we follow, if we are directed otherwise. And when I say directed otherwise, is because there is a decision that has been done to keep somebody on a consultant position or on a consultant function with the district. So we received that request that don't cut the access, wait, because there's going to be another action by the board. And so in those cases, however, you know, it's part of the protocol that we follow. Everything is documented, everything is dated. We receive this through email, and there is always a record. So there is no risk that anybody that is not an employee of the district will have access to any of the information systems, access, or anything like that. All the access doors are controlled by facilities. Mr. Falcon is the one that managed that system. The backup is Laser as network administrator. And we also have these practices for the eSchool Plus application, for Envision, the financial software, and we also follow the protocols that BOSI's established for that. So for example, as a CIO, if I see somebody that is leaving the district, I prepare for that day, so we actually have all of these ready for the push of the button to actually eliminate the access and prevent and preserve any history for any need in the future. If there is an investigation or something, you can always go back and say, well, until this day, this person had access to all of these different systems. Um, Now we also, and Christina, you can just give us a little update about the records management, because I know that Ivy is doing something on that, and we're just trying to be sure that everything is consistent also at the building level.
Yes. I work with Ivy, who you know very well. She's the records management officer as well as the district clerk. She wears many hats. So we ensure that any student records that are in archives are complete. So that way, when she goes to send them to be microfilmed, there is an entire record of the student's history at district, whether it's just for 1 year, for one grade level, or for their entire pre-K or ECP all the way to 12th grade. They want to make sure that every student has a report card for every marking period. And when they leave and graduate, they have a complete transcript there as well. So we've been working together to kind of make sure that those items and those papers are in there. So that way, if a student or anyone ever comes back and is looking for their transcript or is looking for a report card or is looking for any kind of record, we can provide it to them.
Thank you for that summary. I do have a question. Do we perform any annual or semi-annual review of access and privileges just to make sure nothing has fallen through the cracks?
Yes, and actually more often than that. Go ahead, Christina.
Yeah, actually, well, so I came into this position back in March. Actually, my first day was the day we were sent home for COVID. So yeah, so I pretty much, hit the ground running when I started. But I've been doing everything, I'd say, I guess at this point, like 85% has been remote. We've only been in school a few times now, back and forth. So yeah, what I have been doing is, as when I first started, that was I kind of went through the system and I checked everyone's security profiles, and you know, there were some that were there, the names, because I've been in the district for 12 years now. There were some names there that I saw that were not um, there anymore, that they have either resigned or retired. So I ensured that their access was in fact deactivated, which it was, but I just wanted to make sure. And I'm also always kind of, checking and making sure that there's no one that has access that needs access. We've gotten some requests here and there. Sometimes we end up having like a temp, like a clerical temp fill in at the buildings, and sometimes we'll get a request, to have that person have access, and of course I have to say no because that person is not a district employee, so they cannot have access to student records and PII that easily. They need to be an employee of the district first in order to have access. So um, that's I just they basically have to come through me if they want to have access to eSchool Plus.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Just to add to that, in terms of the doors, I try to do a clean sweep at the end of every year. And usually when someone gets, either terminated or leaves, I kind of, you remove that person, but try to do like little sweeps in the middle of the year, but every June is definitely a clean sweep. Okay, who's retired, who's not coming back, and then I send an email to the buildings. Can you look at your staff list and tell me who's not going to be returning? Because sometimes they have turnovers with TAs and student help in a lot of the other buildings that have door access. And there's names some of the names I don't recognize, so I just can't. So I'm kind of dependent on the buildings to let me know who's here, who's no longer going to be here. During the summer, they don't have access to the buildings at all. That's off. So if a staff member needs to come to the building, they need to. Well, previously it was you call your principals and we activate the card. But now that we have security guards over the summer, you just go to the building. There's no need for me to activate unless we move to card access on individual classrooms, which is coming soon. But even then, I think that's good practice. If you're going over the summer, just go to the building, see the security, have them let you in.
Thank you.
The next item is regarding, if you have any more questions or any comments on this, or we can move to the next one, the B.
I'm fine. I don't know if
So
I'm good.
Yes. During COVID-19 and remote learning, we had to ensure that we have protection for the data and the protection going even in the area of the instructional information. All the Google Classroom sessions, all the instructional materials that the teachers have. And we work with Diego Rendo on this. and we establish some of the security for that data by backups and security. So right now, I want him to refer a little bit about the backup eye, which is the solution that we have in place for this, and other implementations that we have done to ensure that everybody working remote has security on their data. Diego?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez.
Okay.
So in terms of our domain, our Google domain has evolved tremendously over time. We always heard that Google was free, and Google was always free, and it's still free. But a lot of the features, a lot of the premium features, as they started to originally make them available for free, then they eventually moved over. They realized that they can make money out of this. And so now there is a premium version of Google Education, which we really had to adopt because of the use of the premium features, right? We got our teachers used to all these features, and if we had not purchased that license, we wouldn't have them. So we couldn't have that. So that's where that became an expense. Then, as we were relying more and more on remote and our Google environment, we needed a solution to back up and make sure that our information is up to date. Yes, it is Google, but there's really no way of knowing where the information is and how Google backs up their information. So we needed to make sure for both record retention and also to have a backup of our environment. So we signed up with Backupify, which basically takes care of cloud backup of our cloud environment, if that makes sense. All our users, those of us that have access to email gets backed up, and then everybody's Google Drive, especially now that they have put in restrictions on Google Drive and how long information stays, for example, in your trash. So if you ever deleted anything from Google, up until a couple of weeks ago, it would just stay there forever. Now, I guess storage is expensive when you think of the Google environment. So they set a limit of like 30 days. If you don't empty your trash, it just deletes automatically. Well, if somebody was to put something in there of value or important, and they forget about that rule, that's it. There's no way to kind of retrieve that. So we put that software in place, so we have a backup of our Google environment. The other thing that we are in the process of working on, and I'm actually working on this implementation, is a product called Vitru, which is encryption, point-to-point encryption. And this is going to be deployed for those employees that deal with sensitive information from point A to point B. It will create encryption that would provide us a second layer of security, if you will, to make sure that the communication between point A and point B is secure, especially business office and people that would deal with sensitive data. Obviously, you wouldn't be emailing private information or delicate information. Most services at this point require you to do an FTP or an SFTP or a data exchange, but this will tie in and increase our level of protection. It is no secret that K-12 is a big, big target. And like Neil said before, we're trying to raise awareness, not scare people, but raise awareness about how important every system they use, right? Trying to convince a teacher that they are important in this whole thing. Our students are important in this whole ecosystem, right? All it takes is one person of the many stakeholders to be compromised, and the person might not cause the damage themselves, but provide a way in for damage to be caused to us, our data. And so these are some of the things that we have put into place. And as a result of both the remote learning and our dependency on more of these cloud tools, if you will.
So we hear horror stories about ransomware. If there's anything you have to say that's in closed session, tell me. Um,
Correct.
what?
Well, the quick thing that I can say on that is because of our environment, the Chromebooks are very secure.
Okay.
The Chromebooks belong to us. We control the Chromebooks completely, if you will. You cannot log into a Chromebook with any other account other than the Greenburgh account. So that kind of provides security there. We have filtering on the Chromebooks that we control, right? So let's just say malware and ransomware has not hit the Chrome OS, if you will, right? If we were
Okay.
talking about all the kids having Windows laptops, then the conversation would be different, right? We do run antivirus protection and on those devices in house and so forth. But again, firewall in district, firewall at BOCES, spam filtering at BOCES, as our ISP, they are a key component of all of this. And so as the needs are changing for the districts, BOCES is evolving as to the type of services that they provide us, so we can piggyback off of the cost savings, their experience, and the scaling, because something like network penetration testing is a very expensive thing to do. It's important to do, but very expensive. So going through BOCES and BOCES being able to probably negotiate for a lot of districts, they might be able to give us a much better price, still providing the service that's important to us, but at a much lower price, and having an idea where we are, because it can happen to any district. I mean, you hear the horror stories and it's scary, but again, raise awareness, not scare people. That's the motto that we have every time we talk about this. It is important to talk about it, but with that mindset of just raising awareness, right?
Thank you.
That's it.
I have one follow-up question going back to the encryption without getting into details. Is it the whole OS of that machine, those specific machines that is encrypted, or is it specific application data that's encrypted?
It would be application data.
Okay, that's enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
We follow on that one, we're following on the guidance from the state on what is required for encryption. So it's a two-way encryption, and it will be just for communication and data that is sensitive, like financial data. That's as much as we can share.
Absolutely.
On the last item, and I want to thank everyone, we're almost close to the time that we expected, so we're right in time. We've been doing some investigation on all these different items, and thank you, Ashley, for bringing this to our attention. As was shared before, we have already in place very important security measures, but for data loss prevention, this is something that's been going on for years, because we have a disaster recovery plan. That's our first item that I can relate to that, and we can recover the data, historical data, everything is backup, and it's backup to BOCES, and it's backup to two sensitive locations. So if something happens, one copy will be in Long Island, one copy will be in Albany, one copy will be in Erie, BOCES. Basically, there is no way that we are going to lose our financial data or any important data for the district. In terms of the identity and access management, the first risk is always local. And we just talked about that with Christina. And at the moment that we don't keep monitoring our systems and looking for anybody that may be disabled as a user, but it still has access to certain applications because the package is still associated with the account, or somebody that has an ID card or a second ID card, because that's another situation that happens. People have multiple ID cards to access to buildings. That is gone. Everybody has one. There is no exceptions to that. And another implementation that we did is we don't allow general names in emails. We have groups. Yes, you saw the team group, the security, the IMO, and all that. But every individual employee or user has their own email and their own account in our systems. So it can be tracked back. It can be secure, and we can provide for that protection. In terms of the incident response plan, We didn't have incidents in the magnitude, but we are prepared to have all documented. We have the ability to go back into the logs on the servers. We have the ability to actually document any incident that involves intrusion or, any kind of leaking of our data. Now we are mandated by EdLaw 2D to do a disclosure on any data loss incident. Any data breach has to be reported, has to go through a set of procedures and protocols. We're working with Southern Westchester Boses, Lyric, and they actually provide us with a lot of information about the forms and the system that we use. And use of the time is going to be very difficult to show you all the different forms, but they're internal. And what we do is basically have the privacy at greenburghcsd.org is an email that we create that goes into multiple members of the administrative team. And anybody that feels that the data has been compromised, it could be a parent, it could be a student, it could be an administrator, a teacher, can email us and we will act immediately and do the research and the investigation as required by law. So that's the email that we use. I'm gonna actually put it in that note. So in that way it's also available in the meeting, in the minutes for the meeting. And if you have any questions or comments, this will be the last item that we had in this agenda, follow up on the agenda from the first meeting.
Sure. So the only question I have is, as we continue on the journey of adopting DLP and coming up with all those policies and all those things, if you can continue to please update the committee on the progress as that goes. That's the only thing I wanted to say.
Absolutely.
Anybody else? Go
I
ahead.
have a different question. The district emergency plan.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
I
been updated.
wanted to ask about that. That was submitted to the board for approval, the safety plan and the ERPs. So I'm not sure if the last meeting, it was expected to be approved. Was that approved? Had you
I-
have a conversation about the safety plan?
Don't
This-
remember
I don't remember, and this is
it
honestly
being an
like
agenda item.
my fourth meeting, so I have all the meetings in my brain. But
Ivy,
something said to about that.
my understanding, per Dr. Reynolds, is that all the full safety plan was submitted to Ivy for consideration by the board. So I will suggest that, we check with her. If for any reason you don't have it, I will work with the superintendent and Dr. Reynolds to provide you with a copy right away. The ERPs are different. The ERP, the emergency response plan, they all were submitted to the state. We are in good standing. There is no issues with that. There was a late submission from some of the buildings, but it was basically because of some changes in the composition of the local ERP team, like security officers, things like that. It's all done. It's all being accepted by the state and approved. The safety plan, the district safety plan, is the only one that is, I believe, pending just the confirmation by the board. Because I think that you have the copies in previous meetings, it was actually brought to your attention. But as soon as you confirm with me, I can post it on the website as well. What we did is we post the draft. Because
Okay.
we didn't have the approval by the board yet.
Right.
Okay, so Ivy said we did not take action on it.
Okay.
Let's see, her bubble, her cloud is moving, so she's gonna respond. But yeah, so I asked if we did take action on it because I really didn't remember us doing it. She said no. Oh, hold on.
Okay. So I will suggest through the committee to recommend to the board at large to have the action taken as soon as possible. The state contacted us about it. We provided with the draft. They saw that it was a work in progress, and obviously with the pandemic, the meetings are limited and there are many other priorities sometimes. So they understood. It was coordinated with them. Dr. Chase was critical in that conversation. And at this point, we're just waiting on the action by the board.
Right. I remember making the request at a board meeting when we reviewed some other policies that that was taken care of. That the minimum that we could do is make sure that all the contact information was up to date.
And I will suggest that since we are the combined safety and technology committee, that we engage on the renewal for the next round, because that will happen by May.
Okay.
That we have a draft of that plan and needs to be approved by June. So we are on time and we don't experience this same situation. The same plan that we have, we just need to, do an update by May and have it ready for approval by the board.
Excellent.
Thank you.
It looks like Internet's having a conversation, but long and short, yeah, Mr. Ramirez will definitely get that moving along.
Thank you.
Okay. So Ivy's gonna take a look into it again. She knows we didn't take action. It was not on an agenda. It was not in our board packet. So right now she does know it is on the website. It has to be there. I do remember her saying this. It does have to be there for 30 days. So she just is trying to track now, like how long it's been on there so far. So it's 30 days and then we take action on it. She just has to verify how long it's been on there. But we, as a board, she knows she hasn't shared it with us and she doesn't remember having it being in a board packet either. So it looks like we haven't gotten it yet, the board.
Okay. And Laser can confirm this. It was posted right before the holiday break. So if we take that into consideration, the 30 days will be approaching fast, and maybe at the next meeting you can actually take action.
Yeah, it's probably at the next meeting. Okay.
Yep. And
19th.
All right,
Thank you.
excellent.
Thank you.
So it's 7:03 p.m. I want to thank everyone for the excellent work covering all this ground in a short amount of time. And that said, we'll keep everything moving along. We look forward to our next committee meeting. And if there are no further comments or questions, we will go ahead and close out the meeting. Do I have anybody that motions that?
Did we close?
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right. With that said, meeting is closed. Thank you, everyone.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
You
Take
too.
care. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you all. Good night.